Our commitment toward clean energy and climate change mitigation has many aspects. Rebound effects relate to technology changes and behavioral patterns that offset intended energy saving and environmental benefits. There are also other side effects of climate and energy policy that may slow down the pace of mitigation and lead to a failed endeavor in planning future energy transitions. Rebound effects are of three types: the take-back effect, the spending effect, and the investment effect. The take-back effect, or direct rebound, occurs when users, due to improved energy efficiency, increase their consumption rather than accepting the same service at a lower energy and financial cost. For instance, if we buy a new car with improved fuel economy, we might end up driving more miles a day because of the lower fuel consumption, thus reducing the potential energy saving connected with having a more efficient car. On the other hand, the spending effect, or indirect rebound, occurs when consumers invest their extra household income that results from a reduced energy bill in the purchase of other energy-consuming goods or services. Finally, the investment effect is a broader, indirect response to cheaper energy that results in larger economic activity and so increased energy use. An important side effect of carbon policy is carbon leakage. Whenever firms outsource manufacturing activities in countries with more allowing environmental policies, carbon leakage takes place. There is also an indirect leakage when firms outsource production overseas because of the increased cost of domestic energy. Carbon leakage is a serious threat for climate policy, since it unveils all the contradictions of the current emission accounting system, which is production-based instead of consumption-based. The main flaw of the production-based system is the territorial accounting of emissions, which fully neglects emissions embodied in traded goods and services. In the last 2 decades, the carbon leakage phenomenon increased as industry moved more and more activities in Southeast Asia. The Russian Federation is also a large net exporter of embodied carbon emissions. United States, Japan, Germany, France, and United Kingdom are instead among the largest importers of embodied emissions, also called grey emissions. Carbon policy is so important that even Pope Francis wrote an encyclical on climate change and the environment. He commented on the cap-and-trade mechanism as follows: the strategy of buying and selling carbon credits can lead to a new form of speculation, which would not help reduce the emission of polluting gases worldwide. Rather, it might simply become a ploy which permits maintaining the excessive consumption of some countries and sectors. The bottom line is that a carbon tax would be preferable to cap and trade in order to avoid grey emissions, since a price is imposed regardless the site of emission. Commitment accounting is another important topic. This concept was recently used by Stephen Davis and Robert Sokolow to model the socioeconomic inertia that limits the rate at which CO2 emissions can be reduced and climate change avoided. Every time a fossil power plant is built, we commit ourselves to a certain stock of emissions. At a given year after the plant has come online, part of the committed emissions have been realized, while part remain committed. This is a strong carbon lock-in effect. There are other side effects linked to carbon and energy policy and behavioral patterns. Free riding is the habit a person has to enjoy a public good while evading its cost. For instance, Freerider is a consumer that drives a petroleum engine car with low fuel economy while taking advantage of reductions brought by users who adopt greener mobility. At a higher aggregation level, countries which do not reduce their carbon emissions are free riders when compared to virtuous countries. It's also worth mentioning the term greenwash, which refers to the fabrication of artificial or false environmental credentials. This practice misleads public opinion and citizens who are committed toward more responsible lifestyles. Therefore, clear metrics and certified labeling should support every green and environmental action. Overall, climate and energy policies are powerful, but rebound and other side effects can limit their impact. So careful and far-seeing policy making is required.